All right, let's go ahead and get into our guided practice. So again, we want to focus on multiplying by 10 and multiplying by 100, as well as multiples of 10 and multiples of 100. So there's some easy ways to do it. So these first two are going to seem very simple. We should be able to fly through them, but I want us to make sure you guys are paying attention and working with me on the problems that are going to be a little more difficult because it's going to take a little more work. Let's go ahead and get into number one. So we have 7 times 1, and then we have 7 times 10. I want us to notice the pattern as we are figuring out 7 times 1 versus 7 times 10, as well as when we go to number 2. So we all know anything times 1 is going to be itself. So 7 times 1 is going to be 7. Now, when I look at the next problem, when I see this 10, it's nothing to really worry about. It's going to be just as simple as me figuring out 7 times 1 because I still have this 7 times 1 right here. So I'm simply going to bring over that 7. And now I actually simply just have to add this 0. And that gives me 70. So that's sort of the trick when I see these zeros. I'm going to go ahead and just multiply this digit by the 1 over here or whatever the digit is over here, and then go ahead and add whatever zeros are at the end to my answer instead of me having to do this. So me adding a 0 saves me from doing this, and even though I get the same answer. So let's go ahead over here to number 2. We have 9 times 1. We all know that's just 9. I'm going to do the same thing. 9 times 1 gives me 9. And then add your 0, I get 90. It'll be just the same as me working out. Oop, I wrote that wrong. As me working out the problem that way. So let me write that a little better. So me adding that 0 is just the same as me multiplying this way. It just saves me having to use extra space and having to go through the algorithm that way. It's just a lot easier to go ahead and remember to add those zeros when I see multiples of 10 and multiples of 100. Now, this is going to cause us to do a little more work because 12 times 5 may not be as simple as 7 times 1. So I am going to come over with the algorithm here. But once I figure out 12 times 5, I'll easily be able to figure out 12 times 50, and I won't have to do any multiplying by a 2-digit number. So we're going to see how easy that goes. Starting in my ones place, I have 5 times 2 is going to give me 10. Regrouping that 1, I have 5 times 1 is going to give me 5. Plus that 1 is going to give me 6. So 12 times 5 is 60. So again, we did have to come and do the algorithm for this problem. But now what's going to be easy and save us time here is we already did 12 times 5, which is 60. And then because I have this extra 0 right here, I'm simply going to add a 0, giving me 600 as my answer. So 12 times 5 is 60. 12 times 50 is 600. Very simple. And here's how it saves you time. Because if you didn't just add the 0, you would have to come and show your algorithm this way. So you would end up having to go through those steps. 2 times 0 is 0. 1 times 0 is 0. 10, right? Like these are more steps that you will have to go through to get that 600. We don't have to do that if we just add that 0. Coming on over to number 4. We're moving over with a larger number here. We have 403. Yes, 100. I'm sorry. I totally messed that number up, y'all. We have 143 times 2. So I am going to come over with my algorithm and set up my problem. Starting in the ones place, 2 times 3 gives me 6. 2 times 4 gives me 8. 2 times 1 is going to give me 2. So 143 times 2 is going to get me 286. That looks a little sloppy. Let me go bring it back. That is 286. Now what am I going to do? I still have this 143 times 2. I see that right here. So I'm going to simply write 286, and then I'm going to add the 0 behind it. Now I'm not quite done because I still need to add my comma because we are now moving into the thousands place. So I come 1, 2, 3 over, write my comma, and now I have 2,860. That's a lot easier than me having to set up the problem like this. So you want to try to save yourself some time as long as you know your math facts and as long as you know to just multiply this first number by that first digit and add those zeros, you're good to go and you're able to move a lot quicker. Let's go ahead to number 5, and we're going to notice the same pattern as we look into multiples of 100. So we have 861 times 1. We know that to be 867. Any number times 1 is itself. I have 867 times 100. So I'm going to simply write the answer to 867, which we know is, I'm going to write the answer to 867 times 1, which we know is 867. And then I have 2 zeros this time. So I'm going to add those 2 zeros right there. Don't forget my comma. Where do I put it? I'm going to count 3 in. 1, 2, 3. Add my comma. My answer is 86,700. Coming over to number 6. I have 71 times 1, which is 71. Coming over, I have 71 times 1, which again is 71. Let me rewrite that. Which is 71. I have these 2 zeros. I'm simply going to add those 2 zeros at the end. Coming over, 1, 2, 3. My answer is 7,100. Coming down to number 7. So now we have a multiple of 100. It's no longer 100, but we're going to solve it the same way we did with questions 3 and 4. So we have 8 times 4, which we know is 32. 8 times 4, I see it again, so I'm going to write 32. And then I'm simply going to add these 2 zeros. Don't forget your comma. My answer is 3,200. Very simple. And again, it beats you having to do this and going through the algorithm that way. Just make sure you remember to add those zeros at the end. Let's go ahead with 712 times 8. So we have 8 times 2, which is 16. 8 times 1, which is 8, plus that 1 gives you 9. 8 times 7 gives you 56. Don't forget your comma. So 712 times 8 gives you 5,696. Coming on over, I still see this 712 times 8. So I'm simply going to write, and this is going to be a bigger number, 5,696. And what do I add at the end? Those 2 zeros. Don't forget your comma. It's going to be in a different place. So it's no longer going to be 5,696. I'm going to go ahead and count 3 in. 1, 2, 3. Add my comma. We now have 569,600 as our answer. Take your time for the independent practice. Take your time for the exit ticket because I gave you a really large number right here. I'm excited to see how many of you get this correct. I really wanted to challenge you with this one. It's a very large number. It's probably the largest number we've worked with all this week. So try your best. Make sure you use your pencil and paper to get your problems correct.